Good evening, everyone. Hey, it's Nebraska Gunner here. I'm just going to make a quick video for you guys about some of the stages you might encounter on your way to becoming profitable. Inevitably, you will likely encounter most of these stages, but this might help you understand where you're at, figure out maybe some of the psychology involved. But yeah, I'll try to make it short and sweet. Let's get started though. So, if you want to become profitable, right? So you have to have the first step's basically fundamental analysis, TA. Okay, so TA, FA, those are gonna be your starting points, right? You have to know how to read the charts. So TA is trend analysis for those that don't know. Okay, trend analysis, things like RSI, OBV, on balance volume or volume, candlesticks, candlestick patterns, okay, support and resistance, things like that. Okay, fundamental analysis is going to be things like main nets. Those are huge in 2017. You know, your partnerships, obviously, partnerships, forks, anything, rumors. Okay, anything like that. That's gonna be your fundamental analysis. Neither is right or wrong. Neither is better or worse. It just depends on what works for you. Okay, so feel free to check them both out. You can use them together. All right, there's really no limit on that. Okay, next you're going to have next is gonna be risk management. Okay, I think this is one of the biggest things you need to learn. Okay, so you need to learn risk management. When to enter trades. You know, you're not going to enter a trade if your support's down here, okay, and you want to buy it. Let's say this is $2, okay, $2. I want to buy here. Price is dropping, and I want to buy at $2, and it gets to $2.10, and it goes up, and it comes back to $2.15, and it's kind of hanging around here, okay. Well, my risk management tells me that if it goes up to here, okay, I can't buy now. I missed my buy-in. I can't buy, okay? If it so happens to come down, and you'll see this a lot, and if you guys are patient, you'll see it a lot, it'll come hit your zone and then go off, okay? So my risk management tactic was wait till $2 hit. I could put a stop loss at $1.90, and that's a 5% stop loss, and maybe I was using a size of my account, 50% of my account, so that's a 2.5% risk on my total account, okay, from there. The higher up it goes, okay, so the higher up this goes, my entry goes. If my entry's here, maybe I use a smaller position. If my entry's here, maybe I use a smaller position. If my entry's up here, maybe I use a smaller position with wider stop losses. Maybe I ladder down. Maybe I start buying at $2.10, and ladder all the way down to here. Or if I buy at $2.10 as my first buy, and I want my average entry to be $2, then I can actually put my last ladders down below $2, and if those get hit, my average entry will still be $2, okay? And then I would put my stop loss just below there. So there's so many different ways you probably don't even realize. A lot of people don't realize how this actually works. They don't realize what I just explained briefly, and there's so much more in depth you can go on that and build on that, which I'm not going to do right now, but I think risk management is super important. You must understand it, and if that totally just blew your mind, rewatch that part of the video and start studying risk management, because once you understand that, your profitability will just increase right off the get-go, because you won't be losing $10, $20, $30, $40, $50,000 in 1 month because you have no idea what you're doing, okay? So you start off there at risk management. If you don't understand risk management, you shouldn't be touching anything at all. You shouldn't be putting money into anything if you don't understand your risk management, okay? Next, build off there. So you get through risk management, and once you understand risk management, you're going to feel a little bit better. You're going to be like, oh, my losses aren't as big now. You might not have a solid hit rate. Maybe your hit rate on your trades is still 30 or 40%. And your hit rate, so this is the other thing too, you guys. Once you start, so let's go to stay with risk management for 2 seconds. Risk management. Once you start to understand risk management, your hit rate will likely go down. You will probably lose more trades, but you will lose smaller trades. So you'll likely get stopped out more. But your losses will be smaller. Okay, that's huge. So maybe without risk management, you're getting stopped out every 30%. Maybe you're getting stopped out 50% of the time, okay? But your losses are 20%. Whereas once you learn risk management, you're getting stopped out 75% of the time, but your losses are 3 or 4%. Okay, 2% maybe. See the difference there? When I very first learned really good tight risk management, I was getting stopped out a ton, and it was frustrating, and I was getting annoyed at myself, but I started to learn that I needed to wait for my entries, okay? Have you heard the saying, your stop loss is my entry? Okay, because the market does that to you. The market will see your entry here, okay? And it will go here, and it will bounce up, okay? And it'll come back down here and retest this, and you'll say, okay, I'm going to enter here. I'm going to put my stop loss below here, or I'm going to put my stop loss at $2 now, okay? Or $1.99. And because now it's the same risk potential, and you're feeling good about it, and then, quick wick, back up, okay? That will happen to you. Even when you understand risk management, you're a really good trader, that will still happen to you. You have to start planning for things like that, okay? So next, planning for things like that comes your strategy, okay? You have to have a strategy, you guys. If you don't have a strategy, what are you doing? You're just blindly playing, right? It's like going into a blackjack game, okay? If you play blackjack, and a lot of people's strategy is anything 15 or higher, they just don't hit. Easy strategy, right? Anything 15 or higher, they just don't hit, they stay, and they see what happens. That's a fair strategy. Works well for some people, depending on the night, whatever. But as far as strategy goes, they have a strategy. They sit down at the table, okay? They know what they're going into. If you don't have a strategy, you're that guy that's the guy that sits down next to him and is just hitting on anything, or maybe not hitting sometimes, all right? And that is just totally random. Okay, there's no thought behind that. There's no giving yourself the edge. You're not giving yourself a statistical advantage. You're just hitting when you feel like it and staying when you feel like it. Okay, those guys tend to not do very well unless they're extremely, extremely lucky. And usually, even if they are extremely lucky, they'll have one really good night, get super cocky, go in the next night without a strategy, and they'll lose all of that and more. Okay, similar to trading, right? Okay, so you have to have a strategy, right? And it's going to take you a while to develop a strategy. Okay. Your strategy will not be the same as anybody else's, most likely. Strategy, an individual strategy. Okay, it needs to be individualized for you. So whether your capital has certain needs, the exchange you trade on has certain needs or restrictions, your time restrictions, okay, it needs to be individualized for you and what works for you. Not for what works for some other person that's extremely profitable. Not for what works for some guy you saw on Twitter posting the same thing every day, the same exact setups. It needs to be work for you. Okay, and your R to R is your risk to reward ratio. So that will decide that will help you in building your strategy. So you have to know what your standard risk to reward ratio is going to be on your entries. So if your risk to reward is generally 1 to 2, then you need to have a 50% win rate at least, right? So 1 to 2. And that's fair. That's going to be your lowest R to R that you want, right? Because if you're 1 to 2, you can be 50% hit rate and still be profitable. And I think even slightly less. I'd have to do the math. We're not going to get into all that right now, okay? But 1 to 2 risk to reward is fair. So you're saying your risk on this trade is $100, and your reward is $200. All right, that's your risk to reward, 1 to 2. Makes perfect sense, right? My risk to reward on my trades is typically 1 to 5. Okay, so if my risk is 100, my reward is 500. Okay, that's the standard on my strategy. It's about 1 to 5, okay, give or take. So that means I can lose a lot more trades and still win. So if I get stopped out twice, if I'm stopped times 2, I'm minus $200, but then I win once, and I'm up $500 for a total of $300, right? So it's $500 trade, total $300. We're not including fees right now. All right, if the other person, they risk 100 risk reward, they get stopped out twice, they lose 200. Okay, we're talking about the other person up here, so let's get rid of all this. All right, they risk 200, They're down two, or they get stopped twice. They're down 200. They win once, up 200. Okay, they break even. All right, nothing wrong with either strategy. Okay, and it's hard for a lot of people. They can't find those 1 to 5 risk to reward trades. They just don't come around too often on their time frame or with their setups. That's fine. Okay, you don't need that. That's just what I do. That's just my strategy. Okay, so that's how that works. If you guys didn't understand that, now you do. It's obviously a lot more in depth I could go on there. We're not going to do that. This is just a really nice quick breakdown to give you guys an understanding of things you need to be thinking about if you have not started to think about them. Okay, so develop a strategy, know how your strategy works, how often it works, and what you need to do to be profitable in that strategy. If I have a strategy that is successful 70% of the time, okay, mine's typically 60 to 75%, 75% on a really, really good week, usually about 60, okay? I'd say average, it's usually about 65 actually, but anyway, that doesn't matter. So I know my conversion rate. So I know that 65% of the time, if I follow all my rules, I'm going to have a profitable trade. So I just keep taking those, and I know that, and I also understand that I'm going to have losses. Okay, I need to accept that I'm going to have a loss. So I need to accept as soon as I go into a trade, a 1 to 5 R to R trade with $100 risk, I have to accept that that $100 may not come back out. I may lose that $100. That's fine. I accepted that. But if I enter that trade and I don't have a plan, and that $100, that loss turns into $200, okay, and then that loss is going down, it turns into $300. I didn't have a plan. I'm losing money now, and I'm taking big losses and big unnecessary losses. And now my risk to reward on that trade was what? 300 risk now to 500 reward, which isn't even 1 to 2. Okay, so now I'm just screwing myself out of these really nice risk reward trades, and now I have to win more than 2 trades of the same risk to reward to make that money back. Makes no sense, right? So you're going to lose. You have to accept it, but know what you are risking before you go into the trade and accept it. If I go into a trade and my risk is $5,000, I might say, well, that's too much risk. I don't want to do that. That's fine. So use a smaller position size. Wait for a better entry, something, so that way I can get it down to my $100 or whatever I want it to be. Okay? Does that make sense, you guys? You ever thought about that before? If you haven't thought about that before, your mind should be blown right now. Like, if there's absolutely no reason you should have never thought about that before. Okay? So, you're going to lose. All right? So, strategy. Woohoo. We got it. 70% hit rate, 60%, 50%. It really doesn't matter. Some strategies, I'm sure there's 90 or 95% hit rate, but they probably take way less trades and they probably have way more criteria needing that. Okay? So that said, when you have a strategy, right, when you have a 65% strategy or whatever, you need to follow those rules and you need to stay disciplined, because I know that that 65%, if criteria A, B, and C are met, right, I'm going to enter. 65% hit rate if those criteria are met, right? If only criteria A and B are met, my hit rate likely goes down to, I don't know, 40% or lower. I really have no idea. But if A and B are only met, or A and C are met, let's say I'm at a 30% hit rate on either of these. But if this is met, I'm at a 65% hit rate. So when I'm going to look to enter a trade, I'm not going to force trades. I'm not going to be like, oh, well, I really think it's going to go up, but I don't have criteria C met, but A and B are met. I think it's going to go up. I'm going to take this trade the same as I would here, okay? But if it's only a 30% hit rate at this point, then I'm going to be losing more money. So you have to make sure all your criteria is met, and you have to make sure your rule is in place, because that's what the market wants from you. You have to find something that's going to be high success rate, and you have to stick to that, because you deviate from that, and your success rate will likely go down, okay? So know that you can miss out on a trade too. You don't have to take every trade, okay? Now, with that being said, so you don't have to take every trade, right? Do not take these. Do not ever take these. There's absolutely no reason to ever take these. And if you ever feel the really, really need to take these, very, very small capital. Use 10, 20, 30%, the normal size you would use. Use small capital if you really feel like you need to be in that trade, okay? Anyway, because a lot of people can't sit on the sidelines. They can't see, in this situation, they can't watch that. They can't be like, oh, I really want a long here, but not my criteria is met, and then watch it go up. That will hurt them mentally. I don't know why, but that will hurt them mentally because they thought it was going to happen. Remember your rules. Remember your strategy. Remember that this is a low probability entry, so you're not going to take it. Okay, so you don't have to take every trade. However, you should take every trade that meets your strategy criteria, right? Because your strategy criteria is 65%. So I need to take this 100% of the time, because if I'm picking and choosing when I'm taking it, what if I pick and choose more often when it's the 35% of my losses? Okay? And now it's a little bit more randomized, okay? If I'm playing blackjack and I'm only hitting on 15 every once in a while, okay? Like I'm hitting on 15 or 15 or higher, I hit on randomly just because I feel like it, even though my rule is to not hit on anything larger than 15. If I start hitting on things larger than 15 just for the hell of it because I feel like it, I'm breaking that strategy, and it might not be successful. And the odds of hitting on something over 15 and busting are way higher, okay? So if that makes a little bit of sense. So you should take every trade that meets your criteria. So if I'm saying, if it's 50, so if I'm playing blackjack and I say, okay, if it's 15 and the dealer doesn't show a 7 or higher, I'm going to hit on 15. Now, I hope that makes sense to where you're saying, okay, well now I put criteria in place that are met, and then now I think my hit rate's going to be a little bit better. And and I said that backwards. So if the dealer shows 6 or lower, I would stay. If they showed 7 or higher, I would hit on a 15, because I feel like they have a good chance of having a 17, and I would lose anyway, if that makes sense, okay? So you should take every trade that meets your strategy criteria. So this is why when I say, and people give me shit on this for this on Twitter and in Discord, and this is why when I say, oh, you guys, all right, well, I'm done trading for the day, see you later, or whatever, and then I just happen to glance at the chart, whatever, I get an alert, happen to glance at the chart, and I see, oh, well, there we go, this is my trade, like, I got to take this because I see it and it matches everything, so I take it, and this is why so that's why that happens. All right, so moving on, okay? After that, once you have a strategy built, profitability, okay? So if you have a strategy made, it needs to be profitable. If your strategy isn't profitable, why are you still trading it? Okay, now maybe there's tweaks and this and that, and you should be using smaller capital while you're working out all the kinks, because if all you have to trade with is $10,000, and by the time you get all the kinks worked out, you blew that whole $10,000, now you have $500, you're gonna have a lot harder time getting out of that hole. So rather use that $500 while you're working out the kinks and lose it all, and then by the time you get it figured out, you have $9,500 left to trade. Okay, pretty simple, right? Profitability, though, there's so far in depth we go into this. Profitability is just such a mental game. If you start down or you start dwelling on your losses, you're never going to come back. So if you are trading for a year and you lose 20K in the first year, okay, and you're just trying to make up that 20K, you're mentally just going to never make up that 20K. You have to give that as learning. You just have to accept that that was learning money and you were paying to learn, and you move on. Now you restart with whatever's in your account. Let's say you start with 20K again. You start with 20K. Now you have a new account. Okay, you have a new 20K account. It's not a 40K account. That's now 20K, and in half, it's a new 20K account. This is deleted from your mind. Start with 20K. I'm in 20K now, and I build this account, and I work from there. Okay, mentally you cannot be dwelling on your losses or trying to make up losses, because if I start with a 20K account and I'm up 25%, okay, I'm gonna make the math hard for myself. Up 20%. Okay, so if I'm up 20% on that, 10% would be 2K, so that'd be 4K. So I'm up 4K, right? Okay, I'm up 20%, which is 4K. That's great, right? 20K account, I'm up 4K. Now I'm up to 24K, right? That's great. Anybody would be happy with that, would they not? You'd be like, oh great, you're up 4K. That's awesome, right? But if my starting account was 40K, right? If I'm thinking about it as 40K, but I really have 20 capital because I lost 20, Now I'm up 20% to 4K, so I'm at 24K, but in my mind I'm down 16K. Okay, so that 4K doesn't matter. I might try to ride this until it's 8 or 10 or 12 or 6. What if that gets to 12K, right? That gets to 12K, and I'm like, damn, look at that. I'm only $4,000 away from break even. And then it goes all the way back down to 4K again. Okay, it drops, whatever, and then that's just mentally taxing. All right, if I'm thinking about that starting 20K and I get up 12K. Now I'm at 32K, and I'm perfectly happy. My account's up over 50%. I'm happy with taking profit there, right? I'm just mentally, that's way easier to understand. So you have to get your mind right. Mentality goes a long way in this market, okay? So I won't get too far into that. Being profitable has so many advantages once you have a strategy, and then being profitable from where you're starting at after you have the strategy developed. Forget about what else happened. Just start being profitable from that point on, okay? It will change your world. And then once you start becoming profitable and you start taking profit off the exchange, your risk potential drops. And mentally, once you're making money, it's just a whole new ball game, okay? Because you could get your account liquidated, but if you just doubled that account twice in the last month, you get liquidated on it on the normal, So let's say I have 20K, I doubled it in 2 weeks, so now I have 40K, and I doubled my 20K again in another 2 weeks, and so now I have 60K by the end of the month total, right? I should have already taken profit out anyway, but I take 40K off, and now I'm down to 20K. Okay, if I lose that 20K, I'm still up 40K, and I'm fine. Like, I'm not going to dwell over that. All right, but if I keep the 60K on the exchange and I blow that account, now I'm down to 0K, right? I'm down to 0, and I just lost 20K. All right, so you got to take profit off, get it away from the house. You could get exchange hacked, this and that. You got to have that money in your pocket, and you got to take that away from the house so they cannot get it back. Once they cannot get it back, you're doing great. Okay, that's the first step, is just making sure they cannot get their money back. Casino, trading, anywhere, do not let them have their money back. Okay, and the best way to do that is to get away from them. Right. So, and then you just start building, and you just keep doubling accounts, or maybe your goal is 10% a month or 10% a year, which is still great returns. Okay. But once you start getting profit away from them and getting your risk down, it can be really changing for your mentality, right? But being profitable and knowing you have a profitable strategy is very empowering as well, right? So then once you're profitable, maybe you're mildly profitable and you're making like $500 a month, okay? And that's great, but I want more, okay? So I want to go $1,000 a month, all right? How can I do that? So goal is now 1,000 a month. New goal, 1,000 a month. How can I do that? Do I increase my position size? If I made $500 monthly the first month, okay, I'm not going to increase my position size double the next month to try to meet a new goal here. That makes no sense, because if I lose, I'm doubling my risk and I could lose everything I just made. So maybe I made $500 a month for 4 months, which means I now made $2,000. Okay, $2,000 profit. Now maybe I can double my account or double my position sizes to go for $1,000 a month, because in that 1 month I'd be risking like less than half my profit, right? Whereas just the next month, I'm just saying we're starting with a $500 account and I want to make $500 a month, okay? So you're increasing your risk potential too quickly. You need to have that capital backed up and stored in case you incur losses or whatever. So you can't just increase it exponentially until you're exponentially increasing your profit, if that makes sense. Okay. So now my new goal is 1,000, and so that's one way to do it. Okay. There's so many different ways you can do it. Different strategies work for everyone else. You could tweak your strategy a little bit. Okay. If you want to increase your profitability, so strategy improvement. You can, and how do we do this? So you have to look at your losses mostly, right? You can also look at your wins. Maybe you've been maybe your wins have been running to target, but you've been taking profit 20% before target. So how can you hold through that? Maybe you need to start laddering out. Okay, maybe you need to set different target zones. There's so many different ways you can do that, but profit taking, there's a lot that goes into that as well. And I've started setting wide profit zones, so that way as soon as it gets close to my initial profit target, I've already mentally said that I'm okay with taking profit here, and I will start laddering out there if I feel like price isn't going to reach or whatever. But a lot of people forget the profit taking side of things too. Maybe adjusting your stop loss, maybe setting 3 targets instead of 2 targets, or instead of 1 target, and just taking profit no matter what, a certain percentage. So maybe you say, okay, my target 1 is going to be at this level, and I'm going to take 25% off of my trade every time it hits target 1 in case it just goes back down and I get stopped out. I'll at least have taken some profit from that trade, whereas before you were making zero from that, and it was going right back down to your stop loss, and you were getting stopped out. Okay, so right there you're increasing your profitability through strategy improvement. Okay, so you can improve your entries. You can improve your entries. There's just so many things you can do. Okay, but strategy improvement, you need to look at your own strategy and figure out ways you can improve it, and mostly that's going to be done by looking at your losses. Okay. Inspect your losses, what went wrong. Maybe you got stopped out right before it went up, and that could increase your profitability. Maybe you need to start laddering. Maybe you need to improve your entries, okay, or improve your stop losses. All right, so a lot that goes in there with that. Obviously, increasing capital, we kind of just touched on that. Capital is always, right, everyone wants to trade with more money because in theory, you can make more money when you're trading with more money, right? And if you have a strategy that's profitable with $500 account, then why would that not be profitable with $5,000 account, right? And really, it should be. There's a few factors that would affect that, like such as slippage, liquidity, things like that. If you're filling extra large positions, you'll have to start laddering out a little bit differently. You might have to do some hedging. Once you start getting those high dollar amounts, there's a lot of different ways you can go about it. You can be on multiple exchanges to make sure that you have enough liquidity to get out. You can adjust your entries and exits to high volatility areas. There's a lot that can go into that, okay? But there's absolutely no reason why, if you have a $100 strategy that's working and you've doubled it 3, 4, 5, or whatever times, there's no reason why it shouldn't work with $5,000, okay? One of the reasons that, and one of the huge barriers people run into with that, and one of the reasons they might fail is because the mentality part of it, and mentally they second guess themselves, or they can't handle the larger positions. Okay, and so yeah, their strategy is good, but those position sizes are making them nervous. They're not following their strategy, or they're closing too early, or they're messing with their stop loss when they normally wouldn't, and things like that. So yeah, just because it worked doesn't mean that it's going to keep working. You have to keep following it the same way you were. All right. Increasing your capital, we just talked about that. So then high win rate, obviously, right? So high win rate's always good. The higher the win rate, the better. Why the hell not, right? So one thing my strategy involves is I have a high win rate, but I also ensure that my losses are smaller and my wins are bigger, if that makes sense. So basically, like, I know I've gotten to, so comes with strategy improvement, right? So I would have 35%. So let's say I have 65% wins and 35% losses, right? Okay. And my 65% of the wins, they would all be, I don't know, say they're all 10% wins. Okay. And my losses were all 5% losses. Okay. That's still fine. Okay. But now, what if I could make sure that my wins were still 10%, but my losses were only 2% now? Okay. So now my losses are even smaller, but my wins are the same. All right. Maybe my wins are bigger. I don't know. But what I did is I improved my strategy to the point where my losses are now smaller. Okay. But my wins are the same or bigger now. Okay. So that is really where I've increased my profitability exponentially, by making sure my losses are smaller. And by doing that, I understood when I was losing. I understood what was causing me to lose, and I adjusted it. And I said, okay, fine. This is causing me to lose too much, too many times. Like, it's fine. I'm still meeting this criteria right here, right? But I know I'm going to lose the 35% of the time, but I'm going to go smaller until a different criteria is met. And if that criteria is not met, I'm stopped out like normal. If criteria is met, now my position is increased, and then now my wins are bigger. Okay, so it's really hard to explain completely right now. But anyway, so I made sure that these 35% of the time losses are lower percentage losses, okay, smaller losses. And there's a million different ways you can do this with laddering. Honestly, laddering will help that, okay? Laddering can be huge, very successful strategy if done right. All right, but you have to really understand it, because it's too easy to just say, oh, laddering's so easy and simple, and not have success with it. Okay, so you have to really understand it, and you have to calculate your entries. All right, you have to calculate things. It's not just it's not just cut and dry. All right. Laddering, and then also you can increase your leverage or decrease your leverage too, and that's part of the strategy, is keeping my leverage low. So let's say I'll keep my leverage at 5%, 5x leverage off the bat. Okay, so I'll go 5x leverage off the bat. So then if I lose, my loss is only 2%. So normally, let's say I would go 10x leverage, right? And my loss would be 5%. But now, instead, I've started going 5x leverage initially until my criteria is met. And if my criteria isn't met, then it's just a 2.5% loss. So my loss is now in half, right? But with strategy improvement, I've improved it to now where I can say, okay, I'm going to start with 5x. My loss is going to be 2.5% if I lose instead of 5%. But if I win, if I feel like this is going to work, or if my extra criteria is met now, I can switch to 10x leverage on this position, okay? And then as it goes up, or if it's already started to go up, or it's gone up or whatever, I can tighten my stop loss to still incur that 2.5%, but my win is now going to be bigger, okay, because I'm in a 10x leverage instead of a 5x. So that 35% losses are still small. They're 2.5% or whatever on the 5x, but now my wins are double. Okay, my wins are now double, and they're now 20% because I am now in a 10x because I did that strategy improvement. All right. So that's really it, you guys. I'm getting kind of tired. I don't want to go too much more in depth tonight, but I hope that gives you a good understanding of things and how it works. There's so many barriers, and you just have to progress through them. You have to progress through these barriers. Okay, you have to progress through them one by one. I don't know why I put that. You have to progress through them one by one. All right, and you can't skip them, and you can't look back on steps and let them hold you back. You need to conquer each step to move forward. All right. And you'll notice, and if you really look back and analyze yourself and look at this unbiased, all right, you just can't have an ego with yourself on this stuff. If you're losing, accept it and understand why you're losing, all right? But once you start conquering these, you will start realizing how much easier trading gets. And once you start becoming profitable, it's just like a domino effect, man. It just everything starts falling into place, and you just start hitting that. You hit your stride, and you start really figuring out what works, and you can really take control of yourself and take control of the market, and you can also know when you need to stay out too, and when things aren't going right. So hope that helped you guys. If you like it, please shoot me a retweet on Twitter. If you guys ever want more content, elevatetrading.com. You can go to /ourprices to go right to the membership packages. That is where I post a ton of this stuff all day, every day, okay? When I'm in a trade or when I'm in a scalp, I'm posting. I want the 3-minute volume to come in and be stronger than the last 3-minute volume, okay? Because if buyers step in here, then I know that they're going to push this thing higher because we're at this critical moment. Things like that. I do that all the time. I tell why I'm exiting a trade, why I'm entering, kind of what I'm looking for, why I think volume, what I'm analyzing about the specific time frame. Obviously, a lot of chart updates. I still put a lot of those on Twitter too, but a lot of people have better access to me on Discord too with questions and things. So feel free to check it out. Otherwise, stay tuned for more YouTube videos. So thanks a lot, guys. Have a good night.